Hello, I'm Janice Cotter, Gallery Manager at PoMoArts. Welcome to the first episode of the Artist Sessions. During these extraordinary times, PoMoArts, like most art spaces, has closed to prevent COVID-19. Because the community can't visit us, we've been exploring ways that we can continue to inspire, educate, and unite our community through the healing power of art. We're working to shift our gallery, educational programming, and events online. Our current exhibitions have gone digital, and we've been engaging with the artists to share interviews and talks about their work. Online classes are starting, and we will continue to find creative approaches to maintain physical distancing while strengthening our connections to arts in the community. This evening on the Artist Sessions, I'll be talking to 3 artists to see how they are responding to life during the pandemic. Tonight's artists exhibited together in a 2019 exhibition, Breathing Space. With nature as their muse, photographer Bryce Barry, sculptor and printmaker Bev Ellis, and botanical artist Brenna Quan started PoMoArts' 2019 exhibition season by creating a serene, multisensory environment for breathing space. The exhibition was an ode to our West Coast woodlands and the artist's expression of a place to pause, reflect, and contemplate living with intention, meaning, and mindfulness. I'll give you a brief introduction to each of the artists, but you can find their full biographies and information about the exhibition on the Artist Sessions page at PoMoArts.ca. Bev Ellis is an accomplished ceramic sculptor, painter, mixed media artist, jewelry designer, and printmaker. Her sculptural and 2D art embraces the raw and the flawed, and she enjoys creating highly textured surfaces. Artistry and technique inform the intuitive processes of her multidisciplinary art practice. Bev's artwork is in corporate and private collections around the world, and she is exhibited throughout Canada and the US. Her artwork has been published in journals, magazines, and a book about Vancouver creatives. Brenna Quan's foundation as an artist began with the study of lines and movement as a professional dancer and choreographer. Her natural prowess for emotional expression led her transition into the art of floral design. As a competitive designer, she has won multiple awards in international floral design competition and has been a featured designer on the AIFD National Symposium stage at the 9th Moon Floral Design Showcase and other events. Bryce Barry's photography reflects the time she spends outdoors, as well as her appreciation for design, clean aesthetics, and minimalism. Land and seascapes of the west coast of British Columbia are her specialty, but shoots like the Mojave Desert and the Isle of Skye and the Pyrenees have impacted her palette greatly. Her artwork and articles have been featured in online and in print, and her book, More Than Medals, features some of the best athletes in the world. Welcome to Brenna. You want to raise your hand, Brenna? Brenna, Bev, and Bryce. It's a pleasure to be back with you again. To start with our questions tonight, for all of you, being outdoors and in nature is a key influence for your artwork. So in this time, are you still able to get your nature fix? How are you? Bryce, do you want to start with that one?
I think it's definitely more difficult right now. For me personally, I'm lucky. I've got a lot of my shoots banked away so I can work on the backside of my business. So I've been focusing more on that than I have been on being in nature, just because we're supposed to be isolated. So I don't feel like it's a great example for me to be floating around out in nature so much. But I do live at the foot of a mountain. And so sometimes at sunrise, I'll go into the forest for a few minutes and try to get a little bit of a fix.
Any the other ladies?
Yeah, I have a family of four, and we're lucky to be right next to trail as well, and we can pretty much find some more secluded trails so that we don't bump into so many people. But for the most part in our area, everyone is pretty courteous. So if you see somebody, we step to the side. But we're trying to make this a daily habit because, well, one, we've been so lucky to have some beautiful weather for springtime, and it's just, I think it's been keeping us just getting some fresh air and feeling like we're not so closed in and stuck.
Yeah, that helps a lot. And Bev, we've seen a little bit of your backyard, so you have some nature close to you.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate in that way. I live on a nice piece of land, and also close to trails that are not very are really sparsely inhabited. So with a dog and a family of 5, we managed to stick close to home and stay safe. But I find it's just so essential to get outdoors. I'm really thankful, so thankful for the sun during this time. And even, I know it's crazy, right? And even just being able to go out in the backyard and just catch a few rays. And you saw today, I picked some dandelions. They featured on my Instagram as well. And I just love any little bit of nature that I can bring indoors is so helpful.
Yeah, it's true. I've been picking little pieces up that we pass by. I actually always take my satchel with me as we're traveling, because you never know if you're going to see a fantastic piece of moss.
Yes, I remember that moss tends to be one of those things that just gets your heart going pitter patter, Brenna.
Pretty much, liking the lichen out there.
Yeah,
I'm so with you on that.
So in the month since BC's adopted the physical distancing, how are you adjusting to the new normal with being isolated, and how are you managing stress and anxiety? One of you can start. Brenna, go ahead.
Me? Well, gosh. First off, I think I was really glued to social media, because I think that was my first, I have my family here, and thankfully we have each other. I mean, I think about those people who really they live alone, or they're, not as many. So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, social media is kind of really just trying to find connections that way. And you could see it in my world, my community anyway. Everyone was flooding with flowers and photos of flowers and videos and things like that. And it's all really wonderful to see, because I mean, just to be reminded that there is beauty around us, surrounding us, and it's out there. I have to admit that, Okay, so giving kids attention, that's also another thing. So, that's how we spend our time here, is really trying to engage with each other, and then of course our friends out there on social media.
And do you still have time to do your artwork?
You know what? It doesn't feel like it. It seems like, logically speaking, I would have all the time in the world to just create.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, having the kids home from school, they need a lot of attention. There's tons more dishes to be washed all the time, and I live with a little mini tornado, so that just trying to keep the house intact feels like a full-time job, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bev, you have your studio at home. So do you find that that's helps you in managing stress during this time?
Yeah, I find I am incredibly grateful for that. I know there's a lot of artists that have been away from their studios, and I am so thankful. I've been working, doing lots of work, really thankful for that. I also spent, actually, I think about the first 2.5 weeks of this COVID, I was stuck to the computer writing for a grant proposal. And that was probably the less fun of the time. I really enjoy my studio time. It is a little more challenging with 5 people around because I do like the quiet, and closing myself into the studio and finding that time to do that, it's valuable. It helps with sanity, and of course, getting the work done is really helpful.
Bryce, you have your studio at home as well, correct?
Yeah, I'm sitting in it.
Okay, so you're able to keep working, and does that help for you?
I think so. I feel like there are a lot of things on the backside of my business that I was letting pile up. So it's not as exotic to be doing the behind the scenes stuff for my business, but it's been really important for me. And the last month I've spent a lot of time on that, as well as, like Brenna was saying, engaging with social media and finding a way to have like these peaceful views in front of more people, not necessarily for purchase, but more as a soothing. I find that I've got like this huge archive of like saved nature videos, saved photos, and I just feel like if I can flood that out there now, then it's a good opportunity for people that don't have access to nature. Like the three of us are pretty lucky. We kind of sit on the backside of like big nature expanses. So a lot of people don't. So I've been focused on doing the work for the backside of my business and working on some of the pieces that I've put aside that were a little trickier because they take more time. And then working on putting out some peacefulness, because that helps me feel a little bit more like I'm doing something day to day that'll help someone beyond me, hopefully.
I love your daily moments of Zen. I love those.
Like that.
It's beautiful.
Agreed. Yeah, awesome. And Brenna too. I just love it when other artists, and you two are some of my faves to follow and comment on. But the little daily Instagram bits of beauty and outdoors, and
exactly. It doesn't have to be some grand view. It's
yeah.
I think that's a good.
Views are grand. Let's just. We're pretty rocking.
Yeah. So I know that the three of you have quite often have projects and commissions, preparing for exhibitions, and you teach. Have any of those, how much have those things been impacted at this time? Bryce, you do a lot of commission work, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was lucky because I started pivoting at the end of just 2019 to not go in as many shows and exhibitions, and working towards pieces of commission for businesses, corporations, and private clients, and larger scale. And so, and at the same time trying to grow my audience in a way that was more online instead of in front of people at an exhibition, because I didn't feel like there was anywhere that at the time that was a good fit for me. There was no other breathing space out there. So I was lucky because I'd started pivoting that way when this had started. So I kind of had to double down on my idea because this is what's happening anyway. So
Right.
for me was, yeah.
And Brenna, I know you teach quite often.
Yeah.
Are there things that have been put on hold or delayed?
Pretty much everything, because most of my demonstrations or educational workshops, they're mostly being a guest, and so it involves travel. So pretty much early on, I mean, that was one of the first things to stop was travel. So yeah, unfortunately, a few might happen later on in the year, but as of right now, yeah, they've all been canceled. So
yeah, that makes it difficult, doesn't it?
It does.
Bev, now I know you're constantly preparing work that you sell through your website, and you also have exhibitions you're preparing for. And so how are you doing during this time as far as?
So yeah, I teach a lot, as well as I do have exhibitions planned. So I had a whole bunch of teaching that was canceled, and you can always find silver linings. The loss of income is not as fun, and I look forward to some of those things, but the time to work on other work is great. There was some exhibitions canceled, but then and some new ones came up as well. So for instance, one of the galleries I'm in, Maddox Gallery in Nanaimo, they're holding a new show on the 1st of May, and it's for female artists. So it brings me a little bit back to our time together, which is kind of fun. And they're going to be really creative about it. And that's going to be fun, as well as the Craft Council of BC has a really neat earring show that I always look forward to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of fun. And I'm in with, my son is also in it. He's studying jewelry metalsmithing, and our designs were both accepted, and they're doing that online. It should be a lot of fun, a live show, kind of similar to what we're doing as well. So there is some creativity happening and some ingenuity around using social media to make shows happen. And then, people have contacted me for some custom work, and I continue to make special pieces for the galleries, and I was able to drop some off to some galleries just before everything kind of closed down. And a lot of the galleries are doing well with posting artwork online, and I try to highlight them as well because they're amazing and I'm thankful for them.
Well, that's good. And actually, everybody can look at some of the work that you all three had in the Breathing Space exhibition, because we have the digital gallery on our website on the Artist Sessions page. So they can check out your artwork on there and contact you if there's things that they're interested in. So yeah, we can keep promoting that. My next question is sort of involves your creation, the artwork creation. And, in listening to artists talking lately, conversations that have been going on, some artists have found that they've been having a surge of artistic activity. And I've heard that referred to as crisis creativity. And others are feeling blocked and can't seem to focus on new work at all. And some are even sort of likening it to a grieving process. So you are continuing to creating new work, or like theme-based, or continuing in this line? Brenna, do you want to speak to that?
Well, okay, so technically I'm kind of taking a break, I guess you would say. I have a lot of, there's a lot of inspiration that I'm finding with my friends posting, and of course, just daily walks with, in nature. And, that's the same inspiration. And so I do have ideas floating around in my mind. But with the break, I think it's just getting accustomed to daily life right now. I feel like I'm just trying to catch up with that, and get us, get a space ready for these ideas in my head, and to actually put them into something physical and manifest something out of it. And like I said, I've been collecting little bits and pieces that I see on the trails, and I have small piles everywhere, which I'm planning to consolidate and have just a personal space where I will be able to, okay, now that we've got the kids' homeschooling schedules kind of adapted, then, we can create just individual time. So I can have my creative time and set that time aside.
Well, I have seen you on Facebook Live with your, you've been doing some challenges online.
Yeah.
And so I saw you one night explaining one of the projects that you had created.
Yes.
So that was kind of fun.
Well, that was fun. Yes, there's so many challenges out there. And so actually initially I felt this anxiety that, oh my God, there's so much pressure. I have to produce this person's doing that. And it was too much. And so I really stepped back for a second and then just released that, and, just told myself it's totally okay to just let it go. And when I feel like creating something or share something, then I will. And that's fine. So once I did that, now I feel a little less stressed out about that.
Yeah. And Bryce, now with yours, if you're not traveling to take new photos, are there ways that you can keep creating?
Yeah, I do this weird thing where I bank a lot of the shoots that I go on. So when I go on shoots, I'll often shoot stuff that I call B-roll, which is like for my social media, or things that I think are pretty cool, but it's more of a scouting shot, and I don't think it's worthwhile of being large scale. So I've got like quite a lot of stuff in the bank. So I'm going to be okay for a little while, because there's quite a few things that I think are really neat and interesting, but I haven't given them enough time to figure out how good is that. And so that's what I'm up to right now, is just on the back side of things, got like a triptych thing I'm working on, a few things I'm working on, but they're not I haven't been putting them out yet, just because I want to see what they look like once they're more closer to finished. So I feel pretty lucky that way. I mean, if our isolation goes a lot longer, so all of my shoots I've canned all of them for the foreseeable future, and I'll just have to make new plans kind of down the road. I will eventually run out of stuff in my bank, but hopefully by then we'll be able to do a little bit more traveling.
Have a little more leeway in that sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. Bev, now I know that you like to look at the imperfection in the world, and so I'm wondering if the isolation, the pandemic, if any of this has had positive or negative effects on your artwork production, creation, the things you're doing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've been thinking about that. And I think that there's no doubt that living through a time like this will have an effect. I can't totally identify how that's showing up in my work at the moment. I am very thankful to be working quite a bit and have lots to work on, and no end to ideas in the reserve if current work is, I've got enough for this and that. But definitely I found a little quote that I thought was kind of interesting to share, and just thinking about this time and being encouraged by the images, like we were saying, that people like Brenna and my friend April Lesher art and so many others are sharing, and Bryce, of course. Why should we all, it says this, why should we all use our creative power? Because there is nothing that makes people so generous, joyful, lively, bold, and compassionate, so indifferent to fighting and the accumulation of objects and money. And that's by Brenda Euland. And I just thought creativity is so important in this moment. And so I can't point to one thing in particular, but I've just realized in looking at others' artwork, the art of nature, and my own creating, just knowing this is valuable. I'm encouraged when I look at my other friends' artwork and see them creating or posting things that they have created or taken pictures of. There's joy in this. And I think there's some artists that I really love that they're processing directly. I think my process is a little more indirect. So it's interesting.
Now, you work in so many different mediums, and the main ones I consider are your sculptural ceramics and your printmaking. So do you find that you're focusing on one more than the other right now, or is there any difference to what you would have been doing normally?
Oh, good point. Well, I've given myself actually a little bit of time to sketch and paint as well. Sometimes it's just like little cards and I'm thinking of somebody and I'll throw something out. But by and large, I'm doing a lot more of the ceramic sculpture. That's just where I'm at right now. There's no end to what I can do in any media, but that one entices me the most at the moment. Although I just, I've been thinking a lot about doing some more large, woodcut. I just love that too, woodcuts. So.
Well, I remember seeing the ones you worked on or the prints you were working on in the summer with the roller, the steamroller. That was
so much fun. Big thanks to New Leaf Editions, Peter, and the Craft Council of BC.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. I have to say, and we've touched on your social media platforms a few times, but the three of you are so active on social media, and I think you're doing a wonderful job with your posts during this time. You're sharing so much of yourselves. They're very positive and encouraging, uplifting. So I hope you're going to keep all of that up. You'll have to now you've got now you've got to keep it all up, because everybody's going to be wanting to follow you and see what you're doing. So but on that note, what type of sites, posts, online engagement are you most drawn to this at this time? I know with myself, when this first started, I was absolutely obsessed with this live update for the pandemic on YouTube. And after a few days, I just found I had to not limit my the news that I took in, because it could be just so overwhelming with all the bad news. And so I just wondered, with the three of you, what are your main focuses, sort of art, news, the reports, what sorts of things are you engaging with and watching? Bryce?
I think when it started, I have a Twitter account that is just what I follow news, and I follow comedians on it. And yeah, just for a balance. But I found myself on there too much. I was getting too worked up about things, and I realized that there isn't much that I can do right now that will make a change in my mind with that. And so I turned my focus to Instagram because of the pictures. Obviously that's my thing, but I just found that one of the things I was drawn to on Instagram were the people that were posting things that were soothing. And so I wanted to be like that. Why wouldn't I want to put some soothingness out there? And so that's generally been my focus. And my secondary thing of like following the news so hardcore, I have to taper it down now. So it seems to work better on a more of a taper. So
Yeah, I think I'm in that transition period about now.
yeah.
So I was definitely glued to, news about everything. And I follow, of course, our neighbors down south of the border too. I lived in the States for a long time. And I have a lot of family and friends there as well. My husband's American. And a lot of friends in New York. So it's of course, my focus and concern was for all of them. So, and I have had direct people that I know who have been ill, and so but now, I feel like it's time to transition now into more of just, okay, I don't need to know all of that. We are learning things every day, but there are things that are just now repetitive that I don't need to hear all the time. If I do need, I'll just ask Jeff because he's following it too. But same with him though. He's meditating more. He's baking us bread, and so that's awesome.
That's where all the yeast went.
Yeah.
It's in my pantry.
Bev, what is your focus being online? Like whether it's websites or various social media platforms, is there anything that you're particularly drawn to at this time?
So I have chosen to really limit what I'm intaking. So I get enough, a few little sound bites. So what I need to be well informed and act wisely in these times, but very limited. And then I choose one platform really, which is Instagram by and large. I usually tell friends and family, if you want me to know something, you'll have to tell me, because I'm not really even on Facebook very much at all. I just don't need the distraction. I really want to focus my life on the people around me in the here and now, and enjoying nature and enjoying creating. And so yeah, I love following artists that I don't know about, new artists, championing female artists and other artists that are just, it's really fun. It's more fun to lift somebody else up. And so I really enjoy that. I feel really uplifted when I see what others are doing in the healthcare communities, in food services, other things that are happening in the world that are just really positive. I find if I focus on those things, that's helpful. I love podcasts. I'm not an official member, but I really enjoy what the Thrive studio artist community has done. I find a number of great podcasts and music to listen to, just varying what comes into my life and being very intentional about what I do watch and what I listen to in order to keep my mind in the right vein.
Yeah.
Those are good goals.
Yes. And I'm finding that there's actually been some opportunities online now that I wouldn't normally have been able to go to various artist talks or other gallery events. I might not have had time. And with people putting things online, I find that I'm signing up to attend these online artist talks and online discussions and that sort of thing. So I think that's kind of a bonus that's, or a silver lining maybe that's come out of this is getting to things that you might not have been because they're virtual.
It's really wonderful, actually.
Yeah.
There's been a few points though where I felt like, oh my goodness, it's overwhelming. You don't miss all the tours and the talks and the musical artists and the operas and things like that. But at some point, similar to what Brenna said, I just felt like, oh man, I think I gotta just shut it down because there's so many even great things, but you can't do them all.
No, that's true.
But I'm really thankful for all the good things.
Same.
Well, and you've actually, my last question was, you know, what are the positives in your life and the things you're grateful for at this time. And the three of you have been mentioning that all the way through, but if you'd each like to take an opportunity to talk about the positives in your life and the things you're most grateful for at this time. Bryce, do you want to start with that?
Sure. It's probably a bit odd, but it's interesting. I've never stuck this close to the neighborhood during spring, and it's an old school neighborhood where there's overgrown like landscapes and beautiful things just blooming now like crazy. So I'm pretty thankful that I get to see all that, and obviously friends and family, and that I am lucky enough to have a studio where I can continue to do my work in. Those are all like nature for sure, but all those things wrapped into one. I feel like I feel grateful all the time for those things, but I feel even more so now.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Brenna, do you want to?
I'm grateful that I live here in Canada. I think we're pretty lucky. We have a great community, and I think I'm not very political, but I think the government's doing a pretty good job. I feel like there's support out there, and they're continuously working to support more. Make that a larger, to cover everybody if possible. So I'm definitely grateful for that. I am grateful that I have my two kids. I mean, they can drive me crazy, but at the same time, I get to hug them. We FaceTime grandparents just about every day. And that's one of the things they say, oh, it's great to see you guys, but I just want to come and give you a hug. Yes, I'm grateful that we have a good family unit that can, we're in this together, right?
Yeah. And Bev, your family your children are still at home as well, aren't they?
That's right. Yes, mine are pretty much young adults, and it's been a lot of fun. My daughter is an artist as well, and she's worked on 2 ginormous art projects right in our midst as grad finals, which is incredible. And my younger son is a jewelry metalsmith in school, taking that online, and my other son is working as an EA online, and we have lots of fun things going on around the house at any given moment. And I'm super thankful for my supportive husband and for my great kids. And for, again, having a studio at home, having the bright sunshine during this time, like what a gift. And being so close to nature and the things that we love, and being able to support family in the community and friends that need a helping hand right about now. It's we're fortunate to be in that position.
Yes, definitely. I've checked, and it doesn't look like there's any, there's some nice comments, but not any questions on the Facebook Live feed. So at this time, is there anything any of you would like to talk about your practice or about the breathing space exhibition?
I want to say how cool it was that you handpicked the 3 of us to come together, because it's been awesome, because we've kept in touch, and Bev and I have gone to movie together, and Bryce and I.
I missed that movie.
It's a movie. We wished you were there, but I was thinking of you guys. I made this tiny little mushroom.
Oh,
so cute.
Out of clay, and with it's been fired 3 times, and it's got yellow gold and white gold on it.
That's
so
amazing.
Cool.
Yeah,
actually, that's one of my ideas. I am going to make a little mushroom thingy out of things. And that's what's been interesting too, is that fresh flowers, I for myself, I don't have as much access to that anymore. Our wholesalers are still open, the auctions are still open, but I'm just not as active in that part of it. And I unfortunately don't have a blooming garden, so I have to either ask neighbors or it's just using what I have or using what you find. So it's turned into more of I guess, a challenge in the way of making things with what you have, and developing more of that. So that's been really interesting and cool. And like I said, I just got to transfer it from here to here, and that's coming. I can totally feel it. It's cool.
That's so wonderful in art. And this could be the time where we see a lot of artists really bloom in that way, Brenna. That's making me think about something I heard actually on a Thrive podcast recently, which is you've been given a parameter, and kind of like your little sandbox. And you play well in that one little sandbox. And for some artists, they're going to be limited with their materials and their time, but they're going to need to create. And so I'm really interested to see what artists are going to come up with in their sandboxes. And so this could be an incredible time for art to really bloom. And Brenna, I'm excited to see what you do with your forged finds.
Well, any last words, Bryce?
No.
No. When we're all going to get together again. I miss you guys.
It is. I do want to say thank you, Janice. Like it is an honor to have shown with these women, and also to become friends with them. And that's all because of you. And I'm so thoughtful.
Cheers.
Yes.
One quick question that's just come. Actually, whoa, we've got two. Oh boy, now the questions are coming. So Kimberly Blackstock is asking when we will see another exhibition with the three of you.
Ooh, no pressure.
So that's one to think about.
We need to get Kimberly in the mix too.
Ooh.
Well, actually, Bev mentioned April LaSure, and Kimberly put in a question. So our artists next week are April LaSure, Kimberly Blackstock, and Sarah Ronald.
Cool.
So that will be a really fun talk.
That will be great.
Yeah. So now Margarita Maxwell has asked how do you go about fusing all mediums? So I'm not sure if she's referring to you, Bev.
Bev, probably Bev.
I know Margarita.
Or Bryce. Do you know Margarita?
I do.
Okay. I'm not sure who she's referring to then. How do you go about fusing all mediums?
Well, sometimes they don't all fuse together. Sometimes they fuel each other. So, so sometimes I'll be working on several different projects, and there's a relatable link, and that's kind of fun. One of the ways that I have linked them all is I have used some of my printmaking in my ceramics, which is kind of fun, through either using lino cuts or making silk screens from my lino cuts and then transferring patterns and designs. That's pretty fun. So that's some of the ways that they fuse together. I also teach all different forms of art because I love so many different forms of art. So,
and she's added on to that question by saying, so how do you go about fusing all mediums in the art world as well as with flowers? So that one, I think, would be
Brenna.
Maybe like exhibiting. Is that what you mean, Margarita? Because kind of similar to Art in Bloom, there are a lot of museums that put those types of exhibits together where and I did an exhibit with Kimberly as well with her paintings and flowers. And I think because it's interchangeable where we find our inspiration. So I think that I get inspired by seeing a painting, and so something gets drawn up, from that, and then I can create something with that in mind. And I think seeing that put together, and as in the exhibit that we did, I mean, I saw the prints or the photography that Bryce was putting out and the ceramics. I'm surprised we didn't totally fuse one together, Bev, with flowers and your ceramic, maybe next time. But they complement each other. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to see them fuse together that way.
Yes.
Yes.
Nature.
Mhm.
Good answer.
Oh, and she says from all of you, including Bryce. So I guess she's talking about you fusing your mediums as well, Bryce.
I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, I'm that one's kind of confusing me, but maybe she just meant all of the work together, putting all the work together. April LaSure has put a question out, and it says, do the artists have work for sale, and where do we find it to support them? Now, I think we touched on that briefly at the beginning, in that people can contact you through your websites, and we'll have that information on the artist sessions page. Also, you'll each have a profile on our artist directory, and I know some of them are still getting uploaded at this point. Bev is uploaded, and then they can contact you if they want to purchase artwork from you, correct?
My new
Yep.
hashtag is going to be like Bev.
You're so cute.
He's so on top of it.
You know
Well,
what? I don't have two little kids at home. Okay. That's the only difference.
oh, well. Well, you know what? Thank you so much, ladies. And I think,
Thank you.
for a while you were going by as the 3 Bs.
Love it.
It was so weird how that worked out. I really appreciate you taking the time to be part of this and to share your thoughts, your feelings, and all the wonderful things you do. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for putting us together. And
Yeah.
I just love these women and their art as well. So thanks for the opportunity to come together again.
Well, I hope
Thank you, Janice.
there'll be more. Thanks. So at this point, I'm going to thank everyone for joining us on our first episode of the artist sessions, and to ask everyone to join us again next week, when the artists will be April LaSure, Kimberly Blackstock, and Sarah Ronald. So thank you so much all for joining us on our first episode. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay. Okay.